didn't play the right thing. Hang on.
It's time for a What's Up with Nora. Ooh, what's up with that? Ooh, what's up with Nora? Ooh, what's up with that?
No. Well.
What is up, everybody? Welcome. Sorry, I was fixing something that's been bugging me on my desk for quite a while now, which was the placement of my microphone. I know none of you guys can see this. All you can see is what's my collection of Giants hats behind me. And then occasionally you guys see me like just really messing with my microphone a lot during the show because it would keep falling and it would do these other things. And for those of you guys who don't know, I have a Husky adjustable table, which is made of solid wood and metal legs. But the problem is that the way the metal legs attach to the sides is like, I'm trying to describe it. It has like a longer lip down the side, right? So the clamp that I attach has to either go on the back or the front side of the desk. So for years, I've had it on the back side because I thought, okay, that looks good. And I'm just going to keep that. I'm just moving I'm touching everything. I apologize. I'm just going to keep that there. But it just kept doing this thing where it was falling. And I thought, I can't have it right here next to me because it'll be in the way. And actually, it's not. And I can still roll it up and down. It's manual because this is meant to be actually like a work table inside of, like a workshop kind of a thing. It's probably one of the most lesbian purchases that I've ever made. And it was like the start of COVID, work from home. And I wanted a stand up, sit down desk, and as did my wife, and we were walking through Home Depot, and I was like, let's peruse the wood. I just like to walk through the wood. I like the smell of fresh cut wood. It elicits a lot of happy memories, happy trees. Those trees are not happy, obviously. They are dead. And they had this desk, like just sitting there in the middle. And I was like, I'm in love. So I do love it, although I do need a bigger one now. So I'm trying to figure that out. But yeah, I mean, I love this desk. It is fantastic. It's going to last forever. But hi, everybody. Hi, welcome in. So I had a different thumbnail up. We were going to go down a whole different road. But today, as some of you may or may not know, actually, none of you knew, I have my little hands on this book, which comes out later this month. That's right. It's the real book. It's the book. I read the whole thing already. I could not put it down. So today we're going to go over a few things because I was also sent an email with advertisements that are being run on Facebook right now promoting children doing Scientology. And yeah. And I think they're scared of this book, and I'm going to tell you why. So let's start with these advertisements, because I was like, how am I going to, everybody who pre-ordered, awesome. I'm going to put, if my mods, I'm going to pull it up here just in case. And we're going to talk about this again at the end of the show. Oh, why am I way over there? There we go. Hi, here's Child X. I'm going to put the link into my mod chat here, and then they can share it. And it's my business Amazon, guys. I think I've made a total of 45 cents on here. It's all good. Mostly, I just want you to get it. It's a very, as I've talked to Jamie, and as I said to him, I'm still ruminating on it. I've had a flood of memories, things and people I haven't thought of in decades. Yeah. So and also, let's not forget on the 29th of this month, when the book comes out, we're doing a premiere, a worldwide premiere for this book at Powell's in Portland. Okay, this is the Powell City of Books. This is the big famous Powell's that's right there in the heart of Portland. If you can come, please come to that. We want everybody to come 7 p.m. July 29th. I'll also put this, I'm pretty sure it's in our chat somewhere, but like, you know, I chat with my mods so much and we share things all the time that, you know, are, it's just a lot. We talk about all the things. We talk about our everything, you know, but make sure will I be there? Of course I will be there. I won't be broadcasting it live only because Rika PDX is already going to be broadcasting it live. So Rika, you're in the chat and I was like blanking on what your at was. She's going to be live streaming it. So please, you know, I'll post a link to that. Watch her live stream. You'll probably see me on it. I'll wave. But I'm going to be there to support, you know, a childhood friend about his book. And we'll bring this up at the end too. But let's start here, guys. Let's start our journey. Where all weird things start. Okay. Let's start it with the children. Now, for those of you guys who are upset, I did not blank these children's faces out. Okay. Because this is posted in a public space on Facebook. These children, through their parental consent, have been allowed to be used as part of the propaganda for the indoctrination of, you know, this organization. Okay. And this one is particularly, these are the advertisements that they are running right now. In England. Okay. In England. So let's, without further ado, here we go. First picture. These children are advertising the purification rundown. For those of you who don't know, this is the pseudoscience sauna, extreme sauna and overdosing of multiple vitamins, but most importantly, niacin, that allegedly, according to the non-scientific study done by Lafayette, will activate the toxins trapped in your fat, and then you sweat out those things. Toxins, according to Lafayette, include Novocaine, smog, all medications, surgery anesthesia. Okay, so all of these things that you've ever encountered or been around, radiation, all of that stuff, that's trapped, according to Lafayette, allegedly. None of this is peer-reviewed, and actual current scientific research has shown that this is detrimental to human bodies, let alone children's bodies. That you're going to sweat all this out. So you spend 5 hours a day in a sauna cranked, you know, over 100 and I think it's like 130, 140 degrees. Okay. You take before you enter the sauna, you take a mega dose of multivitamins, B's, E, D, and then this niacin, which by the end of the program, when you're done, you are on 3,000 milligrams of niacin per day. Okay. Because, and then after you take this mega dose of vitamins and you drink your oil and you drink your, what oil was it? Lecithin, you take lecithin and oil, and you also must drink this concoction, which some of you guys can buy now in you know, Trader Joe's and other places, called, you ever see those things that are called Calm? the calm drink, right? That is a Scientology company. Stop buying that shit. But it's a calcium magnesium mixture with vinegar that you drink. And in that is called, the drink is called CalMag for the calcium and magnesium in it. CalMag. You're drinking gallons of this bullshit where you're sweating all this stuff out. Okay. Yeah. I did this particular thing. I was subjected to it twice, once when I was 12 and another time in my 20s. Now you have to picture I had an operation before I was 12 because I had my tonsils and adenoids out. So I was like, I'm going to sweat out that anesthesia. I really believed that was going to happen for me. I was going to sweat out every sunburn I ever had. I was going to sweat out all of the fucking smog I'd ever inhaled. I was going to sweat out all of the cigarettes that my parents had smoked around me for the first 12 years of my life, including the 9 months I was in the womb. I was going to rid myself of all this stuff. To be inside that place, okay, a sauna, a cramped little sauna, for 5 hours a day. I did reading in there and stuff, but you have to understand that a child's body, what toxins have they acquired? Right? Other people are sweating out alcohol. Some people sweat out, supposedly hard drugs, right? All of these children here, you see, have completed that. Okay. There we go. Let's get some more kids. Look they've put them in cute little uniforms, guys. Now, when you do this, you get this uniform. You get a little tank top and some shorts. Look at how old is this little guy? How old? What are we, third graders? Look at this little girl. She is dressed up as if she's an adult at prom. This girl looks like she's 6 years old. I'm so glad to have completed the purification rundown at St. Hill. Now I know I don't have any drugs or toxins in my body. There's no parents inside this, fever dream organization that are giving their children anything, including aspirin, for paying nothing. What drugs could she have had? Did she get some Novocaine one time when did she get a cavity? Like, what the fuck? Right? I feel happier. And I have more energy. You're 6. I also am very happy to have taken my first big step on the bridge. I want you guys to understand these words. They're coming out of these little babies' mouths. We want to know how people become so fanatical, so fucking fervent, so fucking diehard to this shit. It starts in childhood. It starts here. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Take your next step. Now, notice how they're marketing this, guys. Next gen. Children. Oh, here's the adult. How old is this baby? She's not even as tall as the picture. How old is she? 4? What is going on? This girl has done something called Motivated. I've never heard of that. It's a remarketing of some bullshit. This girl is on the student hat. This boy is doing the Dianetics course. This boy, who's probably a preteen, is learning Dianetics. Okay? All these kids, look at them. I'm going to be here. I'm going here. Look at my certificate. Okay? Indoctrination, cult. Okay? Next gen. Look at this kid in a suit. Now, first of all, that's a great suit. I'm going to give this kid props for that. It's a beautiful color, fucking great suit, probably hand tailored. Okay. Gorgeous. How old is he? 5? And what has he just completed with the person he did the course with? This girl who's obviously older than him. And again, we have obviously an older teen with a young preteen. Notice the age gap. Why wasn't this kid put with this kid and this girl put with this girl? Like, wouldn't that make sense? No. Let's put an older preteen girl with a 5-year-old. Now, what is the survival rundown? The survival rundown, guys, is a revamp, remarketing, reconfiguration of a course that used to be called the TRs and Objectives course. Okay. And what do you do on the survival rundown? The first thing you do is you do the control routines, okay, to learn how to submit and have no reaction to anything and to allow yourself to be fully controlled by another and for you to fully dominate and control someone else, for you to be fully like you're fully in the trance. I am being controlled. I am going to do the commands. I am going to, do whatever they say. And then you learn the reverse end of that of like, I am dominating you. You will listen to me. You will do what I say. Okay. They do that routine that I've gone over before, bull baiting. These children were sitting across from each other for hours. Okay. Yes, 49ers fan. The kids are in the sauna. They're taking the niacin. These kids sit across from each other and try to make each other react. The rules are, there are no rules, except you can't leave your chair. That's it. You can't, as the person saying or doing or mimicking whatever you want, the only rule for you is you cannot leave your chair. So this little 5-year-old baby sat across from this preteen girl and tried to say the most outrageous, disgusting, was probably, as I was as a child, encouraged to say things of a sexual nature to her to make sure she didn't have any reaction to those things. Okay. Then after they achieve success in that, they again go on to do hundreds of different counseling. Okay. This is all physical, where the end result of this, okay, the end result of this is that you're supposed to be in present time. The end result is you are fully controlled by Lafayette's mindfuckery, and you are fully controllable by anybody who uses those MK Ultra, in Manchurian Candidate phrases on you. Okay. Because like in the Dianetic auditing, it puts you in a hypnotic trance. You count backwards from 5. And when I get to 1, you will be fully relaxed and you will be ready to address your mind. And then you bring the person back out of it by counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. You snap your fingers. And now you're back in present time. It's all a long lesson in hypnosis. These children have done that to each other for hundreds of hours. This is not a quick process. Okay. When it was originally introduced, it took like maybe a couple hundred hours. Now people are supposed to do this. And this is not an exaggeration. When David Miscavige came in and revitalized this and told people who are at the very top, right, that you have to start back at the bottom, they have to do it for 1,200 hours. I want you to get that through your mind. 1,200 hours. These children sat across from each other doing these things to each other. 1,200 hours. Okay. More Purif pictures. Look at these babies. This girl's the oldest in the back here. These two. This is like the preteens and this kid. But look at these babies. They're all sitting in that sauna. Okay? Come and do the purification. Look at us. Why? Because it's summertime, guys. What do Scientology kids do in the summer? They do this. They go sit in the sauna for 5 hours a day, and then they go do the survival rundown for 1,200 hours. Okay, let's just say, let's say how long one of the Let's just do the math here, okay? Let's say they're doing it 5 days a week. Let's be nice, okay? 1,200 divided by 5 days per week, and we'll give them 5 weeks to do it. Well, if they're doing it for 1,200 hours divided by 7, let's say, that'd be 171 hours per day. Obviously, you can't do that. So we have to divide it right. Okay. 1,200 divided by 7 days divided by 8 hours per day. That would be 21. No, that's wrong, Nora. 1,200, I'm doing math wrong, divided by 8 hours per day. Okay, that'd be 150 days to complete that. 150 days, guys. That's half a year to complete that. So you know they're doing it at least 10 divided by 10 hours a day. That's 120 days. 120 days. I couldn't do math, guys. I was trying to make it more complicated. Okay. These kids are fully indoctrinated, fully brainwashed. Look at this kid. He's trying to look older because he's got, a little facial hair going on. That kid's maybe 17, 18, maybe. Doing the survival rundown started to gradually get rid of this fogginess I have had throughout my whole life. I'm sorry, sir. You're a child. I would get stuck in past moments and start talking as if I were still there. Until one day, and I remembered this day very distinctly, the fogginess wasn't there anymore. Do you mean that you had things that were still bugging you and you would keep talking about it because maybe people just told you to come to present time and get over that and not complain about something that had happened that is bad? Okay, 60 weeks. Thank you. Yeah. Which these kids will be made to do this longer. They'll be made to do it 7 days a week. Right? That's just facts. They'll be doing it every day. Now, I don't know if they're still enforcing that 1,200 hours. That was an enforcement that was going on. I don't know. I could see what was in front of me. I could really see it. This is what the survival rundown did for me. I'm no longer concerned about the past. I am more in the present and looking at how I can create the future. Does that sound like a child? Does that sound like a child, guys? They are turning these children into tiny, adult-like robots. Now, part of me is embarrassed because that's what I sounded like. I'm experiencing secondhand embarrassment right now because I fully sounded like these kids. Oh, there's one more. I thought I was done, and so I took it off. Hang on, let me pull this one up. More people, more children who have done this. Before the survival rundown, I used to be very shy. Now I can easily start a conversation. This bridge step has changed and helped me a lot in life, which is now so much easier, and I gained this great feeling of freedom. I'm much happier and more aware of myself as a Thetan. I can see my environment in a much clearer way. I never had this feeling before. This girl right here, she'll be the one that will have left that. What do we think? 12? 12? She's aware of herself as a Thetan. A Thetan. She's aware of herself as a spirit. That's not Delulu. That's not child abuse. That's just normal religious stuff. You hear evangelical kids talk about that all the time. You hear Catholic kids that are like, I'm aware of myself as a soul. I don't know. I'd have to investigate that, Jane. I'd have to investigate that. No. The teen, those little backpacks, that's part of the uniform. That's part of the uniform. Yeah, they give that to them. Right, Jane? You only thought of yourself as a kid. Like, that's normal. Right? But these children are being put in danger by their parents, by this organization, being forced to sit in saunas for at least 5 hours a day. And I say at least because if you start having a negative reaction, okay, like you're getting like really flushed, you're feeling really sick, okay, something like that, what will happen is they take you out of the sauna, you get hosed off with some cold water. People walk around with you and you point at things and touch things until you feel brighter. And then you go back into the sauna to make sure that what turned it on turns it off. So instead of like, oh my God, you probably have heat exhaustion. What the fuck? This child's like melting in this fucking sauna. No, let's make sure they carry on because the way out is the way through. These are the things that are hammered into you as a child. That if something is painful and uncomfortable and making you have physical illness, that means you're just not done yet. You're just not done yet. You got to get back in there and bake a little longer. That is child abuse. That is child abuse. I want to read to you guys a little bit because part of this book takes Jamie to that very place, to St. Hill. And so I'm going to read a little bit to you. This is obviously later in the book, okay? This is from the chapter entitled West Sussex, okay? And I just want to read a little bit to you here, okay? A little teaser. I was eventually moved to a better than normal room because, as my supervisor told me, you work with the ship, meaning the free winds. So you get something nicer. The doctrine says our bodies are a flesh prison on prison planet Earth. During these advanced levels at St. Hill, you could begin to shed both prisons and return to your godlike state. The commander, referring to Lafayette, had published the beginnings of the doctrine in 1950. Within a few years, he needed a new way to make money. He started the movement and built it around a new version of the doctrine, proof of past lives and a method for freeing humanity from the, quote, reactive mind. When a member of the movement becomes a non-reactionary, right, a clear, eventually they then do machine-based counseling on themselves. This can go on for years until they are ready for the next level of their spiritual development. In machine-based counseling, a counselor and a patient sit across from each other at a desk. The counselor has a physical machine in front of them, and he's the only one that can see the dials. The patient verbally answers questions predetermined by Hubbard, holding two long, thin cans, similar to unmarked soup cans, with bright chrome finish that are attached to wires to the machine. The patient is attached to the equivalent of a galvanometer machine, a device that measures electrical current. The machine is only able to measure a fraction of the biological signals that appear in the nervous system. Respiration, digestion, the dryness of mouth are only a few of the signals that the galvanometer can't detect. Machine-based counseling, the movement's foundational therapy, is built on a small sliver of biological signals. Hubbard's doctrine explains as science that what this machine is actually measuring is the physical mass of your thoughts. This is not scientific. Movement members believe that it is scientific with the same certainty that accepted science believes in gravity. I wanted to read that passage to you because, first of all, I want you to understand that this book can be handed to any single person and they will get a full understanding of what Scientology is and how it affects children and what it's like to grow up in there. But I wanted you guys to understand that this is not going to be an inside baseball account where the vernacular of Scientology, for those of us who grew up in it and escapade, okay, it's not in there. And I appreciate that because it's opened up my mind to looking at all of this in a brand new way, And yeah. Interesting. Sorry, I was just scrolling through the chat. The next thing I want to show you, because there's been, and I already covered Jamie's soft white underbelly. Yes, thank you. If you guys want to do a deep dive, and I'm going to do this a bit, like, guys, we're doing a deep dive into all of the things. I'm going to be covering a lot of things that Paralyzed to Paralyze has gone over, specifically with like the enormous, and I do appreciate so much the work that you've done on this, like tremendous scientific breakdown of how the e-meter affects the human body, which is insane. It's insane. And it's important to break that down. We're taking a time. We're traveling back. Yes, we're traveling back in time to, I got to fix a few settings here, guys, to the beginning. And we're going to go through in the next series, basically all of the history and how Scientology has been promoting itself in the media, what they say, what people who have left have said from back in the 80s and everything else, and how the story hasn't changed 40 years later. Okay. Just so you guys can get the magnitude of what we're dealing with here and why it's so important. Uh-oh. Guys, this is what happens when you scroll on this system in the wrong thing. So now, just get myself centered here. There we go. Sorry about that. All right. Let me move my mouse to the other screen so that I can scroll. What we're going to play here, this is an interview from Sheila Huber. She passed fairly recently. This is a series of interviews she did many years ago. And this one, she's speaking specifically about the children. Okay. I want to bring this up and we're going to watch this. So it's from 2011.
I was the Executive Establishment Officer at AOLA, which means I was responsible for child care, staff stability, staff getting benefits, pay, things like that. You're in charge of all this stuff, but they don't tell you how you're supposed to go about doing it. All right, because there was very little written about this position. And like every other position there, it usually got into, production statistics and things like that, which it eventually got ruined by that. But anyway, when I first started, it was a good position, I thought, and I'd worked really hard to get to that because I wanted to help the kids. We didn't talk about the child care organization too much just yet, but we'll get back to that. What I wanted to help the kids because it was such a terrible child care situation. And we tried all this round robin stuff and all that, and that had been destroyed. And I was the exec custo, and I was like, what else are we going to do? And I'm thinking about this and thinking about this and thinking about this and thinking about this. And praying about it, my big secret, nobody in Sea Org knew I still prayed.
Yeah, that would be a massive no-no.
And praying about this, and I go, I know what I have to do. I gotta, but, all right, before that, the survey, it was the most hideous survey I had ever seen. It was like 15 questions, and they were doing it on all staff in all Sea Org organizations around the world.
So this is when Scientology wanted to find out how prevalent an issue was. They would do something like this, where every single person involved, right, would have to answer these questions. And then they would be collated, and they would, put together all the information, just make a huge, basically, database of all of the information to find what they consider to be the reason for these things happening, right? And sometimes that reason is a person. Sometimes the reason is, they would always find, basically, they would always come to the conclusion that the reason for these things was, because people weren't doing Scientology right. Okay, like that's always the reason that they came through. But let's listen about this survey.
And the survey was about, are kids actually valuable to the Sea Org? Yeah. Every question was a loaded question.
Are kids valuable? Valuable. Do they have value? Are they a commodity that can be used by the Sea Organization, by the fake Space Navy, stolen valor, crackpot fanatical wing of Scientology?
Because it had nothing to do with the beauty of parenthood and raising a future generation, or it had nothing to do with any of that. It was just malicious, vicious stuff. And
do you remember like a couple of the things that it talked about? Like, can you give an example?
Oh yeah, are children necessary to the Sea Org? Should children?
Are they necessary? Now, specifically, this is a double meaning. Should we have them be working there? And also, is it valuable for people like Sheila who had children, for people to create children? Is that a necessary part of you indenturing yourself to this servitude for 1 billion years? Do you have to have a baby?
Be recruited in the Sea Org. Is this an unnecessary expense for the Sea Org?
An unnecessary expense.
What benefit are they to production? How much time do you spend off your production to see your child?
How much time do you spend not doing your job? That's what that question meant. To go see your child. For all the parents listening right now, has anyone that you have ever worked for asked you to supply them with the amount of hours you are not doing your work to care? Now, they specifically asked in that question to see your child, not to care for them, not to enrich their life as a parent does by not raise your child, not care for your child, okay? To see them, to be in the presence of them. How many hours per week are we losing of your precious work to you going off to see your children?
It was horrendous. And this is pre-David Miscavige.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What? I thought he was the worst person and he did all this. Let's rewind that, because I think I misheard. Miss Sheila, hang on.
How much time do you spend off your production to see your child? It was horrendous. And this is pre-David Miscavige.
Oh, you mean Lafayette wanted to know this? Source? The founder of Scientology? Oh, interesting. So this is a survey, guys, that went out in the late 70s, early 80s. Before 1986, before Lafayette left his body to go to Target 2. Okay, fucking died of dementia. When he fucking died of dementia. Okay? With an antipsychotic on board because he was cuckoo cachoo. No.
He was there somewhere, but he hadn't come to power yet. This is still maybe 8 months or a year before I got RPF'd. So about a year before.
So she did the concentration camp, the Scientology, concentration hard labor camp. And at that time, people who were doing that camp were living on that top floor underneath the cross on the blue building with no windows, on the floor with no mattresses. They ate slop from buckets. They wore boiler suits no matter the weather. And they did hard labor. They renovated that whole MFing complex.
Before L. Ron Hubbard died. So he may or may not have had a hand in this. I don't know. I can't say he didn't, but he wasn't a name we knew yet. He wasn't a name.
I want to make that abundantly clear that prior to David Miscavige stepping on the stage in 1986 in a complete psychopath moment to announce L. Ron Hubbard's death, nobody knew who he was. And by nobody, I mean like the whole movement. All of the people who had dedicated. When he stepped on the stage, my mom said, "Who the fuck is that?" And she had been in the Guardian's office. Okay? He was nobody. It wasn't Heber announcing the death. It wasn't Guillaume. It wasn't any of these people who had already solidified themselves in very high positions. It was this little guy who came out and everyone's like, who the fuck is this?
We knew Guillaume Lesever as Edient. We
Thank
knew
you.
the people in CMO.
It's like I, guys, I have never watched this, but it's like I knew what she was going to say.
We didn't know David Miscavige. He wasn't an executive name. Not to everybody. Maybe to Flag he was, not to everybody.
No.
And I was given this survey and my heart just went to my throat. I knew what was going on. I mean, I think everybody knew what was going on. They were going to eliminate the kids or cut back on money, or they were just looking in the wrong direction for a solution. So, and it had been done before. It had been done locally before, but for only short periods of time, where they'd say, don't have any children now, we're not recruiting anyone with kids. There were PAC base orders from years earlier. It had been done a couple of.
That's the big blue complex of buildings with all those different entities on it.
Times where they said, okay, everybody just stop having children right now, don't recruit any children, we need to fix up the child care organization. And that was like the final last thing you can do when you're desperate and you've tried every other measure. Well, I was executive establishment officer, we had tried everything. And we're getting reamed out right now for all of the money we're spending on outside child care. And the crunch is on, and that money's getting cut. It's not up to us anymore. It's getting cut from the Flag level, not from our level. And as we don't pay them, they say we won't take your kids, or they say You know what I mean?
They were trying to put the children in various places, in other childcare, like legitimate childcare facilities, right? Little babies and things like that, because of the conditions that Jamie describes in this book. Okay. When Jamie was born, we're talking the early 70s. And the conditions that he was born into, they were trying to fix by putting them in these other places, which of course they weren't paying these people. Now, even though they weren't paying these people, most of these places were run by who? Scientologists. So they couldn't complain about not getting paid because that would be considered a violent act against the organization, against Hubbard, against the whole thing. Right? So they had to keep taking these children, but they're not going to get paid. And because they're not getting paid, they can't give money to Scientology. So who gets in trouble for not giving money? The person. So this is the vicious cycle. Okay. These people are so dedicated to doing this fucking, insane cult work that they do not see their children ever, except for 2 to 3 hours a week on Sunday. The organization is like, well, we got to make it slightly better than it was before. So we're going to put them in these daycares with trusted Scientologists. Okay. Uh-oh, hot dog, we can't pay you, but you still got to take these kids every day because, that's your contribution. And now when that person is getting yelled at because they're not fucking giving money to do more Scientology, they say, well, I'm not getting paid by the people that think, oh, I see, you're spreading black PR. You're spreading bad things about Scientology. Maybe you're a problem. You see how this goes, guys? How do I know that these little Scientology daycares existed? Well, my former mother-in-law was one of those people in Los Angeles running one of the many child daycares. Out of where? Of course, her home. She didn't have a building. Are you joking? They just had 20, 30 kids at her house. Was she a licensed daycare professional? Of course not. Of course not. Who was helping her to change the diapers of these babies? Oh, that would be my ex-husband and his older sister. Yeah. Yeah. So once again, despite them thinking we've got a solution, the babies were still being watched after by babies. The cycle of damage never ends. The cycle of damage never ends.
This is really getting heavy. Everything's coming to a climax here, and this survey gets done. And I'm praying about this and thinking about it. I said, there's only one thing I can do. I can prolong things. And I can do it on my terms instead of their terms. And I came up with this plan, and it was just mine, couldn't discuss it with anybody. And I decided that I was going to do it on a volunteer basis as a 1-year pilot and get that pilot in motion, completely voluntary, before the survey had been completed, before the big orders came down from above.
Let's see what her big idea was, guys.
We all knew we'd all been surveyed. Every single person in the Sea Org had been surveyed, or at least all the ones that had kids. Probably everybody, though. And I got up in front of the staff at muster time, or meeting time in the morning. Nobody knew I was going to do this. And I said, we have a really bad situation in the child care center. This is what we've tried. Outside child care. We've tried the round robin. It was off policy. We've tried this, we've tried that. We've done every possible solution we can think of. The nannies that are recruited keep blowing, running away, leaving.
So they were recruiting people specifically to care for these children, to be a nanny. I'm going to use that term loosely. These nannies were given no resources. They were given boxes and boxes of diapers and formula and food and nothing. They were just supposed to sit with these children all day and make sure they didn't make too much noise, make sure that they weren't crying for their parents, make sure that they didn't leave the area. They were just a jail supervisor for children. Okay?
Without notice. There's been...
And the blowing means they were running away. They were like, I can't do this. I'm hurting children. This is insane.
Qualified people as nannies that were recruited that turned out to be perverts. Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. We're going to rewind that.
Running away, leaving without notice. There's been unqualified people as nannies that were recruited that turned out to be perverts.
Unqualified people. Who turned out to be perverts. Sheila was one of the first people to ever admit out loud that there was predators, child predators that were hired and were in proximity to hundreds of babies and toddlers and young people who were never prosecuted.
Oh, yeah. There's a horrendous situation where the ratio is completely illegal and off. Your kids are not getting outside and getting proper care.
They're not getting outside. I want you to imagine keeping like 50 to 100 kids inside all day, every day. And there's like 2 of you to do that.
You don't want to bring your children into this situation. It's abusive. It's wrong.
Again, in 2011, Sheila was the first adult, the first parent to admit, to say out loud those words of what the children went through. And now, 14 years later, Jamie's book is going to come out and is going to tell parts of this story that, as you can see from Sheila's face, she cannot confront, she cannot say out loud. She's trying to give you the flavor without letting you dip your chip in there and taste it, right? Just describing it. You know, like a waiter describing a special at a restaurant, right? For a dish you do not order.
So, and they're like, oh, and the commanding officer is freaking out, right? What is she saying? What is she doing? I don't know anything about this, right? I was just freaking out. And I said,
Ivan is Ivan Obelinsky, the father of Serge Obelinsky, the boy who blew his hands off, was on the cover of Rolling Stone. That same person who also had children in this organization. His children are being raised there.
So I'm going to ask you to do this on a voluntary basis. This is a pilot. It's 100% voluntary. Nobody is going to be reprimanded or forced to do anything. There's no orders. It's a request. And it's only a request. It has no more force than a request. I'm asking you as staff members, please don't get pregnant right now.
Don't get pregnant. This was the pilot. Don't get pregnant.
Please, for a year, no pregnancies.
Oh.
This is where you go to get birth control. Okay? And I told them where to go, where they could get free birth control. It was a Planned Parenthood place that was in the neighborhood.
Yeah. That would be the same Planned Parenthood that I would be sent to, also to get birth control, to help regulate my periods while I was in the concentration camp. They'd been sending young women to this Planned Parenthood to get free OBGYN care for 30 years.
If you want to talk in more detail about types of birth control, I can talk to you. The staff section officer can talk to you. We'll give you whatever advice, whatever you need. Please do not get pregnant for the following year. They all agreed to it.
Oh, good.
Voluntarily. There was a show of hands. Who agrees, who doesn't agree? Everybody agreed except one woman.
Uh-oh.
And she's given the dirty looks by everybody. Her name was Cece Prefontaine.
Oh, could that be the same Cece that I interviewed? R.I.P. to Cece. She was like, you're not going to tell me what to do with my body. Let's see what happened to Cece.
And I said, hold on. No pressure on her. No pressure on anybody that doesn't want to volunteer. This is voluntary. It's a personal decision. And I said, just back off of her, right? So I thought I bought some time, and I thought I managed to get around the system by making it voluntary rather than order from management. There's no ethics penalties, and I made that really, really clear.
Now, I want to be clear that she was aware fully of the absolutely abhorrent, abusive, neglectful, disgusting, filthy conditions that children were in. And the solution isn't to give children proper care, give them sheets for their beds, give them 3 square meals a day, and allow their parents time every evening or whatever, like a normal working schedule, to be with their children. No. The solution is, hey guys, let's all pledge we're not going to get pregnant for the next 365 days. That's how we fix it. Because then we have this year where we can quickly make things better. But never was a thought, what about the kids? The thought is, how do we keep all of these people who have children here working without their children becoming a problem?
It worked really well. It started to ease within about 3-4 months. The pressure of the child care organization started to ease. The ratio got better of children to nanny. It started to get saner there.
Now, these are reports that were sent to her by the nannies, letting her know that things were going better. So clearly everything's fine there. They'd managed to get a few more people to sit with these kids all day. So everything's handled.
And we weren't recruiting people with a bunch of kids and stuff either. Not eliminating them entirely, but I mean, some of them were ridiculous. Some people come with like 6 kids.
Gross. What do you think this is? A hotel? You've got 6 kids? What's wrong with you? I just like, listen, even though she feels like she's telling this truth, there's still a part of her that is like, ugh, right?
And you think they were joining just because they didn't want to be a parent, and I think some of them didn't.
Yeah. That would be accurate.
So there was some really ridiculous stuff going on, and some of those people were booted off staff. Not in a bad way, not declared suppressive person, but just you've got too many children, and we don't see that this is viable here.
Like Cece Krushko.
Because you haven't recruited any nannies or anything. So
right. So if you have a kid, guess what you have to do? You have to recruit a nanny.
You know, to us, it was a humane thing to do.
It's humane.
You know, a 30-to-1 ratio of 3-year-olds to nanny, where they can't even get outside or to a park. That's abuse. And yeah. I can't even imagine to this day how it's screwed up their minds and their development.
No, I don't think she could.
But it started to ease up. So in about 3 months, the other organizations followed us. We were the second biggest organization in Scientology, so the other ones started doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. Which happened often. AOLA was always doing the innovative stuff. Mm-hmm. So ASHO, American St. Hill Organization, next to us, started doing it. Some of the other AOs in different countries.
Okay, so they started a trend.
Started doing it completely voluntary. Nobody gets sent to ethics. Nobody gets reprimanded.
Yeah, okay? Guys, if you have kids,
this is a new thing. Nobody in Scientology had ever done this since. Right.
You're not supposed to innovate in Scientology.
Right, not since the 50s anyway. They did do a bit of that in the 50s and early 60s, but they haven't done it since. And we had a staff member who had been there and worked at that time. Her name was Loretta Hill. And back then, I mean, things were more flexible.
Yeah. Back in my day, Scientology was innovative, and we could just call Lafayette Ronald up on the phone and say, "Big man, you know, I had an idea. I'd like to see us maybe see our kids for 3 hours a week. How about that, sir?" Like, my God.
I wouldn't say entirely. It was still, you know, run by one man, but whatever. And they got paid better back then, too. Those guys were pulling $300-400 a week.
Guys, $300 or $400 a week. We're talking, these guys were loaded. Oh, yeah, that's compared to $50 a week when you get paid. Okay, yeah.
In the early days, that was a lot of money in the late 50s,
yes,
or 60s or so, when it was just Dianetic Centers and a little bit of Scientology. Yeah. Loretta told me that. But anyway, so I thought I bought them a year. And I thought, I've just proved something. I've proved that people will do the right thing. I have proven they will do the best thing by the goodness of their hearts for no other reason than they care. All right? They will make sacrifices because they care, not because they have to.
Because they care. What are they caring about besides their motherfucking children? Oh, right. The salvation of all mankind on this planet and this sector of the universe. And for that, for 1 year, I will sacrifice getting pregnant. Yes. Truly a selfless act.
So to us, it was just, okay, we can have our kids in a year.
Yeah, we'll just wait. Just wait a year.
We're just going to get this sorted out, and then we'll work it out so that, you know, it's not like this heaps and heaps of kids coming in faster than you can get nannies.
Yeah, we'll just stagger the pregnancies. We'll talk to all the couples and be like, okay, make sure that you are still using a condom. Your selected week for impregnation is in August. Okay, just remember that you can try for a baby in August on this week. That's it.
So we all assumed, and I assumed, and that we were just going to be able to do that in a year. Didn't last year. 7 months, 7 months later, after it started that, this order comes down from Guillaume, from Indian. Nobody's allowed to have children unless they go to these class 4 orgs.
Now, this is what they called garrison mission. Again, stolen valor, using military terms that has nothing to do with the fake Space Navy that is not an actual paramilitary group in any way, shape, or form. Okay. And what this means is if you were part of the billionaire club, okay, and you became pregnanante now you have to leave the billionaire organization where you are, you and your spouse, and you go for 10 years to the non-billionaire organizations to labor for 10 years. And then when your child is 10, they are eligible to work and you can come back and keep working. And your child, you know, got to worry about them. No, they are also signing the billionaire contract, okay? And they're going to start working too. Yes.
In other words, if they left the Sea Org and they go to...
Right. Well, and we Sea Org members thought that if they were only working the day shift or the night shift, that the kids would have more of a normal life. Now, Guillaume, bless his heart, saw that kids needed to be raised normally. And a few of the people maybe in the Commodore's Messenger organization saw that.
Don't forget that is the fun organization that Lafayette Reynolds started on the boats, where he was surrounded by young child girls in short pants. And they would run messages around the boats for him. Huh? Yes. Those people, those children decided that other children should be raised by their parents. Interesting.
But that was bad conditions there too. Those staff members were starving. They still are.
Yeah. That's the part they don't tell you. So you go and you have to go work at this other place, which is not doing well. Now you have to pay rent. You got to pay all these bills that you haven't had. And you still have to labor 10 plus hours a day at a place that maybe pays you $100 a week. Uh-oh.
So, you know, what do you do? And he put, and you've seen that copy of that PAC-based order or that executive order from Guillaume was available online, and it's been on the websites and everything. But it was really with good intentions that was done. Nobody was thinking abortions. It crossed.
Here's what happened next. Massive trigger warning.
My mind that would Scientology force people to have abortions? And immediately I thought, oh, that is the most ridiculous thing, because Dianetics is all about how terrible abortions are. The whole book is about that. Over and over and over again. I mean, it's tedious to read. So I was like, yeah, that's never going to happen. Anybody that's read even anything knows that abortions are something over and over was totally against.
Pause for a second, because like I said, I was recommended this video, And I didn't watch it beforehand, so I don't have this pulled up. But let me pull that up here for you guys. Give me 1 second. Because as much as I detest that man, I do want to show you exactly what he says in, the first document there, Dianetics. Here we go. Let's find the Dianetics book. Where are you? There we go. Okay. Please type. Hello, computer. Oh, for crying in a bucket. Why are you not working? I know you are charged. Okay, so he mentions, I'm going to show you guys how many times the word abortion comes up in this book, okay? Just so you get the effect of what she meant when she said it's tedious to read it. It comes up, okay? Let's see here. Because I just searched for it, and now it went away. Oh, it's found on 28 pages in the book. Let's just go over this passage here, okay? A society which suppresses sex as evil and which is so aberrated that any member of it will attempt an abortion is a society which is dooming itself to ever-rising insanity. For it is a scientific fact that abortion attempts are the most important factor in aberration. The child on whom the abortion is attempted is condemned to live with murderers, whom he reactively knows to be murderers, through all of his weak and helpless youth. He forms unreasonable attachments to grandparents, has terrified reactions to all punishments, grows ill easily, and suffers long. And there's no such thing as a guaranteed way to abort a child. Now, remember, he's writing this in 1950. This is the era of coat hangers and back alleys before we had a guaranteed way to do this. Even now we have the morning after pill, Plan B, okay, which doesn't allow a person to become pregnant. Use contraceptives, not a knitting needle or the douchebag, to hold down population. Once the child is conceived, no matter how shameful the circumstances, no matter the mores, no matter the income, the man or woman who would attempt an abortion on an unborn child is attempting a murder which will seldom succeed and is laying the foundation of a childhood of illness and heartache. Anyone attempting an abortion is committing an act against the whole society and the future. Any judge or doctor recommending an abortion should be instantly deprived of position and practice, whatever his reason. That's just one of the 28 pages that this is on. Okay. Now, when I was part of the fake Space Navy, because I had read that book 8 times, I had a dear friend come to me, and she was in a little bit of a panic. And she asked me if there were any references, any quotes that Lafayette Arnold had ever said about abortion. So I pulled out that passage and I read it to her. And she cried. And I said, "Why are you asking me this? Are you pregnant?" And, she was late on her period. It turned out she wasn't pregnant. So she was okay. But we all knew in the 90s that if you got pregnant, you were going to be made to go down to the Planned Parenthood, that same one that Sheila talks about, to go learn about birth control, which, by the way, was very new in the 70s. You guys have to remember, this wasn't like, you had to go to specific places to get this. It's not like now that you would be taken down there to fix it. Because nobody wanted to be the people who left, right? Because a change was made again. A final change was made in 1996, in September of 1996. I will remember that for the rest of my life. I had just finished doing a round of enforced hard labor because I ran away and I tried to leave. I said, I don't want to be here anymore. And they, held me hostage for 3 months straight and made me work 10 to 15 hours a day while they interrogated me and coerced me and broke me mentally and physically until I was like, yay, I love it, right? The day after I'd started work back in the classrooms, back where I had been trained to work, I was called downstairs and a piece of paper was slammed on the table in front of me. Yet another brand new order from Guillaume, which announced that the garrison mission days, the days of like if you got pregnant and, you were going to go to one of these other places for 10 years and come back, that was canceled. Now, one of the things I told the recruiters when I was joining, because they ask you, is that I absolutely wanted to have children. Their response was, "Oh, no problem. You just go on the garrison mission. You come back in 10 years. I had a dream. This is my ridiculous dream in the cold, that I was going to learn Italian and I was going to get pregnant and have a baby. And I was going to get sent to one of the satellite organizations of the Celebrity Center that was in Italy and raise a little bilingual baby that spoke Italian and English, right? And, just raise this perfect little ethical being who would then come back with me to America, and we would work side by side. So my dream was crushed. Grace Huber handed me that piece of paper and said, "You have 24 hours to tell me your answer." Because at that point, I'd already been through 3 months of massive interrogations. And if I said to her at that moment in 1996 that I can't, I'm good, I want to have kids, they probably would have kicked me out at that moment. And I thought about that for 24 hours. I stayed up all night thinking about it, crying, knowing that I was letting go of something that was really important to me, but also that my mom was never going to have grandkids. And I had to tell her that. So before I gave my answer to Grace, I called my mom, just bawling. And I told her this new thing's come out and none of us can have kids anymore. Like ever. If we do, we're were immediately out. And she said plainly to me, it's okay, I didn't think I was going to be a grandmother anyway. And that moment was one of the first moments where my mom showed me how much more Scientology was important than like family. Prior to that, it'd always been me and my sister, you know, above all in her mind. And I thought, wow, there's nobody. Like, my dad was already dead. I couldn't call him. So I stayed. There was nothing keeping me from doing something else. You know, what other worth did I have? I wasn't going to be a mom. Yeah. All right, let's finish Sheila here.
And well, obviously things got worse because after I was RPF shortly after that. And when I left Scientology completely, which was about a year after I got out of the RPF, I had nothing to do with it or Scientologists until years later I read about Mary Tabayoyon's abortion, her coerced abortion. And she was such a good friend of mine, such a sweet woman, and it made me so sad. And I felt so bad about it that that's what made me come forward. And that was like a year and a half ago.
That's what started you on your speaking out, you know?
Yeah. Because it gotten so bad, the coerced abortions and, you know, staff being told that, you know.
So just to be clear, in 2010, she started speaking out because someone she knew had said that they had been forced to have an abortion. Now, in the years between when this final order came down, 1996 and 2010, I know I could count on both hands women that I know who were forced to go have abortions. Laura DiCrescenzo, during that time period, was forced to have multiple abortions. She and I were in the concentration camp together. And she's famously won a case against the Church of Scientology that was settled. That's why I say she won, for an undisclosed amount of a lot of money. And, you know, that has prevented her from, I think part of this settlement obviously was for her to not speak any further about her ordeal, about what she was put through. And I don't begrudge her one penny of that settlement ever. I haven't spoken to her in many years just because I didn't, you know. You know, there's a point where you get to where you're just like, you don't want to cause trouble for people anymore. And, you know, she was being a mom. She was raising her kids. And I thought it was time for her to have some peace in her life, you know. And sometimes us being around each other stirs up a lot, you know. But I think about her a lot. And because of her case, they claim that they don't do that anymore. And that is not true.
You're going to be declared if you don't get an abortion and being split up from their husbands and wives and being told who they can marry and who they can't, and divorces being ordered. And how could people sink so low? I mean, to this day, I just go, wow, you guys, at what point is enough for the people that are still in? At what point? Your children, I mean, if nothing else, those kids are entirely dependent on their parents to provide them every possible opportunity and to expose them to all the different opportunities and education they can have so they can find out what's best for them.
So, sorry, guys. So let's remember that this started out with, how do we make sure that people can keep working as much as possible with spending the least amount of time with their children, because children are a distraction from the mission, to fuck even having a child, even if you want to have the child, okay? If you want to have the child, then you're suppressive and you will be declared and you'll be cut off from every person in your family, every resource you've ever known. For some people, that's multi-generations. They will literally have no one to turn to because they decided, well, I want to have a baby, right? And it's not whether, I want to make this abundantly clear. This is not whether or not abortion is good or bad. Okay. Abortion is a choice that a woman should make about her own body and what she is capable of being responsible for the rest of her life. And that is a very personal decision. It is never one that should be enforced by anybody, positive or negative, for or against, other than the person with the uterus. That's it. That's the only person who should make that decision. The person with the uterus who has to decide yes or no. Both are life-altering decisions. Both are things that are intimate and that can only be decided by the person whose body is going to either go through pregnancy, which is excruciatingly brutal for those of you who cannot have children because you don't have those body parts or have chosen not to have children or are unable to have children, okay? It is an excruciatingly brutal process that forever changes your body. It will never go back to what it was prior to you being pregnant. And not just because you get fat and then you get skinny again or you don't get skinny again. That has nothing to do with it. Biologically, you are changed forever. It is a huge decision to make. Number one, for the consequences to your everyday life for the remainder of your existence. Okay. Number two, and most importantly, you are bringing forth and literally creating life that you are responsible for in every capacity for the remainder of that person's life. There's not a point when you are a mother, okay, when you have created another human being, that you are not responsible for that human being, that you are not only biologically imprinted with their DNA for the rest of your life. Your DNA changes, guys. When you create a life that is, it's holy. It's, you know, it's the high, in my personal opinion, it is the highest form of creation that there is, to bring an actual life into being. But the act of doing that and the responsibility that that carries should be the sole choice of the person that has the power to do that. It is not something that you just do on a whim. Like, you know what feels good this Tuesday? I don't want tacos. I want a baby. Like, no. No one in your whole life will ever stab you and harm you and like just fucking cut you to the bone like your own child with their words and their now and all that stuff, okay? Can you tell I'm deep in the teen years? Okay. Nobody does that, okay? And at the same time, you know, it's a fucking miracle, guys. It's a fucking miracle. You know? It really is. It's incredible. The human body is not well designed to do this, guys. It is not. They needed to put this whole design through the drawing board again, okay? Because it is not an efficient or great space, you know? But in no way should an insane megalomaniac, fucking disgusting, perverted, misogynistic, gross criminal named Lafayette Ronald have anything to do with that decision. And why did they force all these girls, these young women, sometimes teens, to have abortions? Because they knew that they had committed so many crimes on the children they did allow to be born, that those kids were better off dead, not coming to full form, being eliminated because of the literal conditions that they had for children. And that it was so much of a bother that it was better off we don't do it. And this is the philosophy that is supposed to be the salvation of all mankind. This is the philosophy that is supposed to be the most ethical in the whole universe. That is what they think about the future. And now, what are they doing? They're recruiting children to come in and be indoctrinated 5 hours a day in a sauna, right? Sit there across from another kid and learn how to be completely controlled and have no will to do anything other than what you are commanded to do via the perverted philosophy of Lafayette Ronald. When we say this generation, when we say no more kids in Scientology, we don't want any of those kids to go through what we went through. Sure, some of those kids are obviously not born into the same conditions that Jamie and Laura and Mike Brown were born into, because that's not allowed. These kids probably have a bed, in a room, and parents, and, they go to some form of education. They get fed, clothed. But they're still being told the same poison that we were told at the same age. The idea that you are a, bajillion years old soul in a teeny tiny body is still there. That is what we're trying to end. Okay. Before I get to your questions and comments here, and if you have a question or comment, please put question or comment in there so I can search for it. I just want to remind everybody once again, please work for me. Thank you. I'm just talking to it like it's actually alive, my little tabs over here. Please pre-order the book that I have here in my hot little hands that I finished. I can take this out because I already read the whole book. It's available on Amazon for pre-order. I'll bring that up here so you guys can see it again. Child X, or you can get it on Audible, audiobook, or hardcover. It is a beautiful hardcover. Yeah. Get that. And also, please, 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 if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you can come on this month on the 29th, okay? Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. Let's have tacos, and then let's go see Jamie. Talk about the book. We're going to have a talk, and we're going to have tacos. It's a taco talk, okay? 7 p.m., all right, at Powell's. Come see Jamie. Come hear a reading in the author's own voice of the book, and get your autograph, get your questions answered, all right? Let me get first to the comments and the questions. I'm going to leave this up here so you guys can see. It's at Powell's. There we go. Corey is adorable. He's British. Who sent me a super chat? West Coast Fancy Nancy. Thank you so much for this. And thank you for the hugs. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. Let me get to your questions first here. Why are you not working? What happened? My mouse is working, but how did this get disconnected, guys? I don't know. Please hold. Where's my thing? There we go. Why is it not hooked up? Help me out. Where did the thing go? See, guys, I'm trying to... Oh, good. There was an update. Okay. Can you... This is inactive. Come on. Okay, I'll fix this here in a minute. I don't know. My kids touched something, They touched something, and now things are not working. And so I don't have keyboard right now. It's annoying. So 1 second here, because I need to be able to... Okay, let's forget it. And then we'll add this one. Somehow after the update, sometimes it like... And I want you to type a thing on there. Hit the return key. And we are connected. Look at that. I'm a genius. Okay. Let's bring that back up. My God. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Nora. Guys, I'm just going to show you. Oh, I have them up here. I just want to show you this other thing, okay? Because in my other preview, this is how many tabs I have, guys. This is how many tabs I have to take you guys down a deep dive. I need to make a playlist, okay? But here we go. Here's the Powell's. There we go, okay? And we're going to finish going over. Now we're going to get to your questions here. All right. Did Lafayette ever do this? This was in reference to the purification rundown. No. Excuse me. No. He invented it. He never did it. How much are these kids owed? You mean, oh, no. Their parents pay. Their parents pay for that. So the Purif by itself is like $4,000 per person. And then the survival rundown is like another like $2,500, $3,000. So it's like $6,000 per kid for those two things. YRB says, my father was a workaholic, and that was a question I would have to ask him. Where are your priorities? And I was the kid. Yeah. That's sad. I'm sorry. Do I have any experience dealing with Scientology agents, stalkers, and or PIs? I have had a few people follow me in the past. And I've had a lot of wackadoo people trying to infiltrate my life in various ways. So yeah, I would say yes. I would say yes to that question. If you send me a donation, will I buy some tacos for Jamie Cree? Absolutely, Anne. Absolutely. And I will photograph the tacos and send them to you. Absolutely. I will tell Jamie that tacos are on Anne. Let me get to your comments here, guys. Yes, I saw it. I was in the premiere. That was, I'm very flattered. That's unexpected. And thank you. Thank you for that, Eyes to See. I appreciate that. If you, Eyes to See read my whole statement that's on the Victims Have Voices site. It's a summary that I wrote about growing up in this fucked up thing. It is, guys, it is not as extensive as this book. I will tell you that. It's just a summary so that somebody can understand what it's like. You know, looking at a website, and then I would say, get this book, read it. Shameless promotion here. I'm doing shameless promotion today, and I'm okay with that. Aubrey says, I drink my shot of apple cider vinegar a day. Thank you very much. And that's it. Well, yeah, supposedly that's supposed to be good for you. There is some science behind that. Yeah. Yeah, Aubrey. Absolutely. And I'm glad it's not. I'm glad it's not. Yes, 49ers fan for life. Yes. Children staying in the sauna for hours. I did that as a child. Yes. Thank you, Aubrey. It's a lot. It's a lot. Elron Holocaust. Yeah. It definitely was like that for the babies. Thank you for suggesting Powell's. I pre-ordered Child X and scored on some used books. There you go. Yes. Powell's is amazing, guys. They even in the link that my mods are leaving down here, you can pre-order it from Powell's if you don't use Amazon. And I would highly recommend that because they have probably one of the largest selection of used books on planet Earth, at least in America. And they have really great prices. So if you're a book nerd and you want to get some great, stuff, go to Powell's, man. Check it out. Check it out. Oh my God. Anne. Absolutely. Absolutely. I will text Jamie after this and tell him that tacos, it's going to be Taco Tuesday. We'll all go out. Me and Jamie and the crew. We'll all go out and have some tacos from Anne. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Well, thank you for being here. Tomorrow, I was going to try and fit it in today, but I feel like we've been here almost 2 hours. That's already a long time. And the interview I want to go over is more kid stuff. It's actually an interview Jamie did with Jeffrey Augustine. Let me just pull it up to give you guys a preview. This is a really important talk that he and Jeffrey had. Here we go.
Than me as a toddler. I mean, this was.
Boop. Nope. Okay. It's entitled The Tragic Deaths of Scientology Second Gens, Johnny Lewis and Alexander Jench. I knew both of them. And so I wanted to go over this interview with you guys because they get into some very important information about surrounding the deaths, surrounding what was happening, with and in the cult at that time. And I just wanted to fill in some gaps that I happen to have, personal knowledge of. If you guys want to donate to the Taco Fund, if my mods could throw in the PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App in there, I have all three of those. Feel free. We're going to get really good tacos. We're not getting no sheep. Guys, we're not going to Taco Bell, even though I do love me some Taco Bell. I'm going to find like the best taco joint near Powell's, and we're going to get those tacos. And maybe some margaritas. I don't know. We'll see how spicy we get on Tuesday night, but it's going to be good shit. All right. Tacos. And guys, on the 29th, if you cannot be in Oregon at this beautiful event, Nora, click on it on the right screen. At this event at Powell's, 7 p.m., Tuesday the 29th. This lady right here, Rika, is going to be live streaming on her channel. Go give her a subscribe. Okay. She will be live streaming on the 29th, the event from Powell's. Okay. Please tune into her stream there because I'm going to be busy crying and just sitting and absorbing it. So I will not be live streaming, but Rika is going to do that. And here's where you can send me boxes of money. Okay. It's Cash App. Oh no, Nora 76 there. And there's my, that's the Venmo. Okay. That's also the Venmo. Oh, yes. And then this is the PayPal. Okay. Tacos and drinks for all of you. I love you, Anne. You're so sweet to us. Thank you for that. It's going to be, yes, send money to my box. Or you can send me cash to my P.O. box. Whatever you want. Whatever you like. All right. We're going to go over that video tomorrow, guys, and we're going to keep doing this deep dive down the Wayback Machine to talk about the important things here. And we're going to keep this focus on how this has affected children. And in the next, what day is it today? It's the 7th. In 22 days, this book comes out. Get it, read it, be forever changed by it. That's my recommendation. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you to my mods. And I will see you all on the Flippity Dippity. Thank you, as always, to my mods for keeping this stream right and tight. Thank you for all of you viewing and the truth that we're constantly trying to bring out here on this channel. Please go see my other videos. Click that link for my link tree, and I'll see you next time on the Flippity Dippity.